welcome back to my kitchen. Today is a very cold and blustery fall day, and I thought nothing would go better than a nice big pot of cabbage soup. So today I'll be making a Russian-inspired sweet and sour cabbage soup. The ingredients we're going to need are 2 medium carrots that I've shredded, roughly 1 large onion that I've chopped up. I've got 4 ribs of chopped celery. We'll need 1 whole head of cabbage, 3 cloves of finely chopped garlic, 2 pounds of lean hamburger, an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, a 14.5-ounce can of petite diced tomatoes, 4 quarts of beef stock. I've got a half of a cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. You can use up to a half of a cup of sugar or more or less to your taste. But for right now, these are all of our ingredients. So let's go ahead and get moved over to the stove and we'll start browning up our ground beef. So over at my stove, I've gone ahead and started browning up the ground beef. It is almost done, but there is still a little bit more pink in there I'd like to get cooked out before we start adding the rest of our ingredients in. Although I do want to go ahead and start adding in just a little bit of salt. I don't want to do too much right now, but we will be adding more later. And I'm also going to add just a little bit of black pepper. As much as or as little as you would like. And I think that's going to be good for right now. I will season it more towards the end and get it up to the seasoning level that I personally like. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and continue cooking off my ground beef until it's completely cooked through. Now that I have the ground beef completely cooked through, and I did go ahead and drain just a little bit of the drippings off of it, I'm going to go ahead and add in my large can of tomatoes, including the juice from them, my can of tomato sauce, the onions, the celery, and the carrots, 1 quart of the beef broth. And the last thing we're going to add right now is the vinegar and the sugar. And I do want to go ahead actually and add a little bit more salt into that. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. And definitely a little bit more black pepper. Now that we have all of our ingredients in for the minute, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up to a gentle boil. And then I will drop it down to a simmer and let it simmer here on the stove for about 30 minutes with a lid on it. The soup has been simmering for 30 minutes, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and add in another quart of our beef broth. If you didn't want to use beef broth here, you could certainly use just plain water. I'm also going to add in my garlic. And the last thing I'm going to add in is my cabbage, which I went ahead and cored and then cut into wedge-like pieces. And I'm just going to drop those in whole. Alright guys, there we go. I've got all the cabbage in, doing my best to get it as submerged as I can. As it cooks down, it'll slowly start sinking down into the broth. So for now, all I'm going to do is let this come back up to a gentle boil, and then I'm going to lower the heat, cover it, and let it simmer for about 25 to 30 more minutes, or until our cabbage is nice and tender. The soup has been simmering away for about 35 minutes and the cabbage is nice and tender. So at this point, you want to go ahead and test it for seasoning. Now for me, I don't think it has enough vinegar in it, so I am going to add just a little bit more, probably another 2 tablespoons or so. If you wanted it a little bit sweeter, you could add a little bit more sugar at this point as well, which I think for me, this is as sweet as I want it. And I'm also going to add just a little bit more salt and pepper. So once I let this cook off for about 5 more minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get it plated up and we'll give it a try and see what we think about it. Our Russian-inspired cabbage soup is done. I've gone ahead and plated it up, and I'm serving it alongside some rye bread that I just toasted up and cut into cubes, and a little bit of sour cream. So all we have left is to get in here and try this out, see what it tastes like. Wow, this soup really turned out incredible. I love the flavors that are going on in here. I definitely get a little bit of that sweetness as well as a little sourness from the vinegar. I really like the croutons with it. I think it goes really well as the sour cream. It really just kind of mixes in and makes this whole dish complete. Overall, yeah, I will be making this dish quite a bit in the future. If you guys would like to be part of the Gamers and Geeks playlist, leave me a comment down below and I'll be more than happy to tell you how you can be part of that list. Speaking of the playlist, there will be a link down in the description to it where you can go and check out a lot of fabulous recipes from myself as well as several other people here on YouTube as well. If you guys have enjoyed this video, leave me a comment down below. If you guys tried this recipe out, let me know how it turns out for you. And as always, thank you all so very much for joining me today. I've been Vault Girl. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.